One here is probably what you assumed we came for, to obtain any information you want to give us about the Muslims.
I didn't assume anything.
No, that's a very general statement on my part, but as you know, we follow the activities of the Muslims as best we can, but we're always looking for new avenues of information, and who better than than the head of the Muslims. At least up to a month ago or something like that.
You're wondering, how's your suspension status?
No one knows but Mr. Muhammad. You have to ask him.
You're still in the status as of now. I mean,
You're not
working now, or teaching now at all.
Well, I'm still under the suspension.
That's what I meant.
That's a temporary thing, as far as we know.
He's the only one who can give out any information.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything beyond what he has said.
Yeah. I think he has said that it's a temporary suspension. I'll be frank with you, one of the reasons we picked this particular time to contact you is because of this suspension.
The suspension was brought about by my own doing.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows what was in your mind when you did receive the suspension. In other words, bitterness could have entered into it. It would not be illogical for someone to have spent so many years doing something than be suspended.
No, it should make him stronger, because it makes him realize that law applies to the law enforcer as well as those who are under the enforcement of the enforcer.
Well, you've taken nearly a perfect attitude toward the thing, which is almost unhuman, really. I mean, you've taken the attitude that Mr. Muhammad wants everyone to take if he chastises them. Which is fine. I mean, more power to you. But you see from our viewpoint that there's at least a chance, and this has happened with other members of the organization, they're suspended for some reason or other. And we talk to them, and they stand people up there, and they're, of course, cooperative. Why? Of course, they're bitter. Now, assuming you resume your duties, we would be, as you I'm sure know, interested in having you help us out.
Help you out to do what? We're always helping out the government. We're cleaning up all of the crime that
Fine.
we help it out more than it helps itself. We're at least able to reform the people who have been made criminals by this society, by the corruption of this society. And any way to help it out other than that, I wouldn't even know how to begin.
Well, what we're interested in, basically, are the people who belong, the names, the members.
My telephone number is OL16320.
Okay. OL
16320.
Now, by this suggestion,
That's like telling you the sun shines from the east.
Well, no comment. And the teachings, plans, the programs.
No teaching is more public than ours, and I don't think you find anybody more blunt in stating it publicly than we do.
No, exactly.
I don't think you can go anywhere on this earth and find anybody who expresses their views on matters more candidly than we do.
I can only agree with you. No, that's right. You're right. You do. The main thing is there is a certain area of responsibility. This is getting into our angle of it. What we really want are the names of all those who belong, the names, who they are, the identification.
I don't even know them.
Do you keep no records?
That's not my job. I'm just preaching.
Yeah, but somebody up there keeps the record.
I don't know who. I don't have any knowledge of those kinds of things. with all these other responsibilities I've had, it'd be difficult for me to worry about names. Plus, you would insult my intelligence asking me for them. In fact, no, you would insult your own because it would mean that your own intelligence isn't heavy enough to weigh me and know in advance what I'm going to say when you ask that question.
Well, without getting into arguing on semantics there, you don't know until you ask.
That's not semantics. That again goes into your psychology.
We've had people that, not this group particularly.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulullah wa ba'd, in the name of Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger as to what follows. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hatettes, welcome back to the Feachaz Live. I greet you all in peace and love and no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. And family, in light of what is happening in our times, we're seeing so much shucking and jiving and butter biscuitry and Scooby snackery that this has now become the norm, where holding on to your integrity is seen as something as backwards. So we've listened to, for those of you who were here in the beginning, we were listening to Malcolm X. Those recordings where Malcolm X was talking to the FBI, and they were secretly recording. And Malcolm X really is a throwback of the last on-code Black leader that Black people have actually had. And what we have seen since that time, since the government has assassinated people like Malcolm, like Martin Luther King, is that your enemies and our enemies and the enemies of Allah have consistently and persistently put Black-looking people in front of us in order to control us. You see, if you are creating the conditions on a people where they are forced into backwardness and poverty, then you can easily control them. If you control a people's education, if you can control a people's economics, if you can control a people's movement and livelihood, then essentially you can control the outcomes of those people. And your enemy and our enemy, they know that the best way to control our people is to put people in front of us that look like us in order to pander to white supremacy. Y'all hearing me? So the other day I had seen this particular video, and I wanted to share with you. All right, so let me just get this set up, inshallah. And then we're going to talk about this. One moment, y'all. Like, subscribe, share me on Patreon. One moment, y'all. All right, 1 second. Are we good? Yeah, you shared this now. All right, watch this.
African reporters are getting frustrated by the White House press secretary. She never gives them an opportunity to ask their question. And this video actually went viral because it's evident that she's avoiding their questions.
Afterwards, between the Justice Department and President Biden.
One question for Africa, Kareem.
I'm going to come back, guys.
Thank you. We always have to beg for questions. Africans deserve questions as well, Kareem. Come on.
What is the latest on communications with Beijing, and are there still efforts to find a meeting for
No update on his schedule on any meeting at this time. Look, we've said this many times that we're keeping the line of communications open with Beijing. The president spoke with President Xi not too long ago. We read that out. It was more than a two hour and 20-minute conversation. That was his fifth conversation with the president, and on staff levels, there's an open dialogue that we're going to keep.
Can I have a question, Kareem?
Okay, I'll take a couple more questions. Okay, I'm gonna take guys. Go ahead. Okay. Give me a second.
We have been asking for
Go ahead.
questions every time, and even when you give questions to Simon, it's because you force. We don't need to force for question. We also deserve to have a question.
I will get.
Against African reporters.
On Afghanistan, Sheikh Sultan said last year that there was going to be an extensive top-to-bottom review of the role and how that went.
Can you start again because someone was yelling over you?
Jake Sullivan said last year that there was going to be a top-to-bottom extensive review on how that withdrawal went.
The hot wash.
There was some reporting today that is not going to be ready for the 1 year mark. I guess the question is, why is that process taking so long? What has been the holdup there?
So I know you're talking about the hot washing specifically. So the update that I can give you from here is that departments and agencies have begun their independent after action reviews of the operations at the end of the U.S. military mission in Afghanistan. And again, once those internal reviews are done, we will have an opportunity to look at the full picture. Once they're done, we will give you the full picture in a way that will help inform future operations. Department and agencies will share lessons learned consistent with operational and classification security. It's just still underway. Once we have that, we will share our lessons.
So that's wait on like agency level, department level. You haven't, White House hasn't received anything.
From what I understand, it's the department and agency levels.
There's no set timeline for when that's.
Don't have a timeline for you on this. Go ahead.
Can I have a question, Kareem?
Thank you. Adjacent to the news of the day from yesterday.
From that clip, it was obvious that she never intended on giving those African reporters any chance. Like, she did not want to give them a chance to ask their question. Every time
So that was that bottle of, black looking blockade is Corinne Jean Pierre. Is that's her name? Corinne Jean St. Pierre, right? She is the U.S. press secretary. Okay. Now, why is this a big deal? Why is this a big deal? We keep telling y'all here on the Feachaz that this left-right paradigm, its only goal and its only purpose is to hold up white supremacy. It is the ultimate kufr. You get it? It is pharaonic. It is pure evil. And because these people have mastered how to manipulate and navigate through this paradigm, it's very easy for them to put people who are hostile against the wider, darker society simply because they look like them. Muslims no different, okay? Muslims are no different. As a matter of fact, because Muslims are so far behind, that all you have to do to confuse the wider Muslim society is put it in a thobe and a beard and make it speak a few Arabic words, and they'll be able to say anything and draw you anywhere. But anyway, this press secretary, she is a member of the LGBTs, okay? She has no history of standing up for Black people specifically. However, she was prodded in front of Black folk, like a victory for Black folk, because Joe Biden put her as the press secretary. Y'all hear me? And you can see that she's avoiding intentionally African reporters. Why is this significant? For those of you who know what's going on, what is happening? What is happening in Africa right now as we speak that is causing the dominant Western white society to go a little bit crazy right now? Who is in Africa making all kinds of deals with African countries? Somebody put it in the chat, please. See, this is the real reason why your Black press secretary is not answering questions from Africans. Who is in Africa right now? Thank you. Thank you, Abu Barak. China and Russia. And the larger, wider African society is seeing how China and Russia are in Africa right now without causing proxy wars, poverty. As a matter of fact, there is massive economic warfare happening in Africa today for those resources. Incredible economic warfare happening today. Do you know that unlike your U.S. nation building bank conglomerate and criminal organizations like the IMF, like the World Bank, like USAID, who go into the darkest skinned countries of the world with the full intention of bankrupting these countries, promising them infrastructure and energy and all this kind of stuff. And if these African countries don't play ball, they send in what is known as the jackals, okay? To go in and cause coups and mass disruption and bloodshed and whatnot. This has been the playbook for U.S. foreign policy for almost like the last 100 years or so. Okay? Go into these darker skinned countries, promise them the world, give them nothing, and steal all their resources so we can get iPhones and chocolate bars and all that kind of stuff. Okay? You know what China does? China also offers these African countries loans. Okay? But unlike the U.S. and its bank conglomerates and criminal organizations, their loans are not done with computers and digits and stuff. They fly in Chinese yuan in cash, ship it in cash, billions of dollars to your African countries. But don't stop there. They give the people that they're loaning this money to in Africa kickbacks. So I'm asking you, if this is happening right now as we speak, mind you, China is a creditor nation, not a debtor nation like the States. Okay? The US economy runs almost solely and strictly on a riba from debt. China now is the largest creditor nation on the world. They have lots of money they can loan. So what will eventually happen to these African countries when they start getting flooded with Chinese yuan? What will happen to the US dollar in these countries? I'm just putting it out there. I'm putting it out there. So because the US nation building machine is stretched so thin, you know, you're talking about a country that has recently sent 1 billion to Taiwan. They sent 1 billion to Ukraine. And in Jackson, Mississippi, where their own people are drowning and can't get clean water, they sent their thoughts and prayers in their own country. This is what they think about black people. You get it? So that's why they put black-looking people in front of you to sell out other black-looking people so that they can shield themselves from the accusation of racism. Once you understand this concept, then when you find your black-looking leaders talking funny and speaking funny and not staying on code, then you know why. It ain't got nothing to do with no difference of opinion. Y'all hearing me? Difference of opinion got nothing to do with that. You are talking about somebody who has been put in front of you to control you. And they do not have the best interest of the wider black society at hand. They are out there looking for their own special interest. And what is upon you, particularly black Muslims, is to stay on code. Y'all need to read Riyadh al-Salihin and study that book so that you can have the most impeccable manners. You know, when the Prophet ﷺ, he was making his dawah, people were attracted to him because of his manners. They already knew and understood who he was before he got the revelation. He was Al-Amin, the trustworthy. As a matter of fact, Khadija bint Khuwaylid, radiallahu anha, that was the main reason why she sought the Prophet. She sought the Prophet for marriage because of that reason, because of his trustworthiness. If at every single chicken bone that is thrown at you, you can change your opinion, then as a people, if this is the general attitude of the people, we will never prosper. But look at the Sahaba. They went through boycott to the point where they had to eat the leaves off of trees. Okay, radiallahu anhum. They had to eat the leaves off of trees in order to protect themselves, or rather, in order to hold on to this religion. So much so that their excrement was like the excrement of goats, as the hadith says. That's how it was. They did not go off code. You get it? All these off-code Negroes, they come a dime a dozen. You can find anybody to just flip a check or write a check, and they will switch on you so quick because their opinions come at the end of dollars and cents. You get it? So we need to stay on code. Salaam Alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How you doing, bro?
Good. It's funny how they use tokenism to fight blacks.
Yeah, of course. It's like such an old trick. Go ahead, bro.
You know, they use the black token person, which doesn't represent real change in the U.S. government. But when these Africans ask the questions, and America is supposed to be fight for diversity, America is supposed to be for democracy. You know, there's a number of reasons why they're not asking the question. You mentioned already about the Ukraine and Russia, and you know the U.S. government wants those African nations to boycott Russia, which many of them have not, and not just the African nations, but also the Middle East, like Saudi, right? So, but America's not cutting relationships with Saudi and these oil countries. They're not breaking anything with them. But we can see the disrespect that the Democratic Party, also the Republican Party, have for black people and black nations. You know, I hope some Africans who are leaning towards the conservative side or the Republican side, they could see how the U.S. administration, whether it's Republicans, because Donald Trump also said while he was in office, related to African nations, I believe Haiti, also, this is a SH, you know, the end of the word, countries. Why we won't let these type of countries into the U.S., you know? So I think this should be a wake-up call for black people who are leaning towards the Republican side or the Democratic side, that American government are not for black people. And this woman, who I believe is part of the LGBTQI community, right? Me and my mother have debates. She said she believes this is a trans woman. You know, we have debates, me and my mother. I said, no, she's a lesbian. She's like, nah, it's trans. You know, we have this debate in the house. But they use a black person who we didn't put this black woman in that place.
Exactly.
And she doesn't speak for black people. And it is just tokenism. It's just tokenism at the end of the day, you know. But black people, the reason why we need to be on code, because I really truly believe that American blacks in America education system, we don't have that black consciousness in America's education system. So we are leaning towards either I learned this from school, I learned this from my parents, or I learned this on my own. But a lot of us are not on code because we don't have that proper education on how to be on code. You know, we don't. I look back now and I say, well, everything I learned about black history or black culture or black movements or how blacks are in America, partially is from on my own reading due to my parents who's black conscious, partially from some school. Right, because I did go to some schools in black areas who have black conscious teachers, right? But it was never really part of the curriculum. It was something introduced by the teacher. So a lot of us, we're off code, you know. Unfortunately for the African American Muslim, a lot of us, we off code too.
I believe that the quickest, the straightest point between off codeness to on codeness for the wider black society is actually, you know, getting into the books of adab, you know, from Islam. If you want something very structured and that is very easy to understand and implement, like I mentioned before, Riyadh al-Salihin and whatnot, right? Then this is how you do it, right? And it takes more than just reading, you know, these types of books. You know, even if you look at Arba'in an-Nawawi, for example, you know how much gems are in Arba'in an-Nawawi that we can take from. You know what I mean? You know, like, you know, there's a hadith, you know, a Muslim akh Muslim, kullu Muslim ala Muslim haram, damahu wa irduhu wa maluhu, right? So this is a short hadith right? Which has incredible benefit, right? The Prophet said the Muslim is a brother of a Muslim, and every Muslim to another Muslim is haram, his blood, his wealth, and his honor. And his honor. Meaning that look at the problems that we have in the black community. Just this short hadith, right? You know, we have a lot of killing going on in the black community?
For sure.
Right? Do we have a lot of thievery going on in the black community?
Especially now, yes.
Yes. Do we have a lot of this over the top argumentation going on in the black community?
Definitely too much, actually. It's
too much. This hadith right here, the small hadith, you know, if you understand it and implement it, it's something that will cure so many ills. You get me? So we have to make Islam our cultural code, our whatchamacallit, our code of conduct, you know, our code of how we deal with each other, family relations. You know what I mean? This is how we do it. In my opinion, it's the quickest way. It's easy.
Yeah, but it comes the issue. But it comes some of the issue. See, if you bring if a person is sick, if our people are sick, I'm talking about mental health. I'm talking about systemic racism. No matter what you give them, they still won't be able to put nothing together with it. So if you even bring them Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah, 40 hadith or Riyadh al-Salihin, some of our people, due to our situation, they can't even benefit from the jewels. Like, for example, somebody would interpretate that, okay, if I follow this, I read this book, right? They're going to say automatically, well, Islam doesn't deal with race or one particular race. Islam is multicultural, so I'm not going to focus on black people's issues. We have these African American Muslims who focus on the deen aspect, but when they look at some of these books or they read some of these articles, they would say that they would use it as an excuse not to deal with black issues.
Well, that's why we have the black grassroots, right? Because we ain't about that life, right? We're about the practical application of Islam amongst black people.
You know, because Islam bring all of us together, no matter our nationality. But Islam also recognizes a person's race.
Exactly, 100%.
Right? You know, it recognizes a person's race. The Prophet ﷺ is what? He is Arab. If his race was not important, then we wouldn't care about him being Arab. It would never be mentioned.
Yeah,
it would never be mentioned in the Sirah or Hadith. It would never be mentioned if race wasn't important. I mean, race has its merits, but the religion comes before a particular race, right? But for African American Muslims, you know, for some of us, we use Islam or any religion as an excuse not to do what we're supposed to do as a group of people. I believe Islam is the solution, as Malcolm X said, for American issues, for the black issues, for black and white people issues, right? I believe Islam is the solution. But African American Muslims, we need to start addressing some of our social problems and social behavior, because we would take the religion and start using it against people who are oppressed.
Exactly. That's exactly
like Daniel does.
Yeah.
With black folks.
Didn't want to mention his name tonight.
I know we don't come and bring that up, man. You know, George Floyd died on fentanyl overdose. That's what Daniel Hachikuchu is saying. So he's going to say he's Muslim and he's preaching Islam. Well, he's promoting something, a thinking or a statement that Islam don't support that. Allah say in the Quran, if you save a life, is that if you save the whole humanity, and if you take a life, is that if you kill the whole humanity. So Daniel, where your statement about Daniel Hachikuchu died on drug overdose and not the police killed him, where's your humanity for that person? While at the same time he's writing on Telegram that white people heritage is being under attack.
Yep.
And he's using this on a so-called Islamic platform, saying that Europeans are being under attack. Well, how are your white heritage is being under attack in today's time? How are they being attacked? When people say, hey, you cannot hang up the Confederate flag? where people say that you can't have Confederate statues, when people say that, yo, you cannot kill people who have the same religion as you and burn up their churches because their skin is black. I mean, Daniel, when you say that the white people heritage are being under attack, who's attacking it? Are black people attacking it? Are Asians attacking it? Are Muslims attacking European heritage? And then Daniel, what comes first? Islam or heritage? You know, I know these guys. I know these guys listen to your video. So somebody need to throw this at this guy, man. I know he listened to your video now and his associates. You know, he got heat for black folks and CRT, but he got no heat for the white nationalists. And he's going to use Islam. You see, this is what happened when people talking about, oh, race is not important. But then why are you attacking black folks if race is not important in Islam? We all together, huh? You know, I just understand this guy Daniel, his thinking. You know, I really don't understand. But black folks, you know, we also have.
I understand. Just call him what he is. Call him what he is.
And you have black African American Muslims who support him with these statements.
Yeah, and that's why we do this show, because these are black-looking people, right? They're only there to push the narrative of white supremacy. That's it. You know what I mean? You know? They are there to be one of the pillars of white supremacy. So they want to go hide behind Zaddy and stuff and make relations with Zaddy and whatnot, because these types, Abu Quran, really they don't believe that. They don't really believe that Islam can be successful on its own like that. They don't believe that.
Their actions show that. Yeah, their actions show it.
Yeah, their actions absolutely show it. They believe that you always have to partner up with those people whom they are looking at us, they look at white people literally like they're superior.
Yeah, because they've been colonialized and they've been conquered by them.
Yeah, so they have this massive inferiority complex. And people like Daniel,
I don't know where he gets it from. I don't know. I know somebody got to be behind Daniel, man. Some entity is definitely behind this guy. Somebody's behind this guy.
I believe that myself, right? But at the end of the day, right? It's like, because I didn't want to talk about Daniel today. Right? It's only because you brought him up. Right?
Because he claimed he's reading Quran. He claimed he's reading Quran. He's reading books. He claimed he's on Islamic code, but he's not on no code of Islam.
No, come on, man. Come on.
He got heat for CRT, but he got no heat for the white nationalists.
Yeah, zero. As a matter of fact, that so-called debate that he had with what's the name, Mark Collette. You know, how many times did he mention Allah's name in that debate?
None, not at all. I listened to.
Exactly. Maybe in the beginning, and that's it. All right. But,
you don't call these people to Islam. What's Jordan? What's that? Jordan Peterson. I didn't hear him call. I hear nothing. No ayat, no hadith. Follow the person to Islam. So I don't hear none of this stuff. You know.
But
so
anyway,
I gotta act in the day.
Topic for another day, man. We gotta talk about the cooning and the shucking and jiving. You know, from the biscuits and you know, look here, biscuit. You know, leave the biscuits alone. Stand up for your people. You'll get something way better. You know, if you're on.
You know, I heard somebody say. I heard this black person say on YouTube, right? That he said he's cooning a little bit. He was saying that it's not about racism; it's about classism, right? And he said once you understand classism, it is a black guy. He claimed his father he's retired from the Secret Service, right? So, for example, he was saying that Black Lives Matter founders, when they ran away with the money or ran off with the money or doing what they're doing with the money, he said that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take the money and hit off your family members and stuff. I was like, yo, this is a black person talking like this? And this guy got dreads and everything, man. So, you know, a lot of our people are off code. It's due to either or they look in the means to fit in somewhere where they're going to find some type of success or financial success. Or because black people, we now organized. So some of them might feel in their mind, if they with this particular group that's against blacks, right? Maybe outwardly doesn't appear that way, like Candace Owens, you know, the female that you showed in the clip. People feel that if they are part of these groups, they're going to be protected, right? And it's about having some type of social class for them. That's how they think and see it, you know. And they think that by them speaking this way or taking on the behavior of whites who are against blacks, they think that, you know, they're going to make it a better way for themselves and other black people. You know, it's sellouts is basically what we consider to be a sellout. So you're going to find black people in America who are going to be pushing towards these things always, whether it's a political group, whether it's a religious group that's against blacks. You're going to always find black people's involved in that. Always, always.
There's no shortage at all, right? So for us, black people, what is upon us is humility and being humble, right? And also, whatchamacallit, like I mentioned it before, like black folks, we have a problem when we speak when we're not supposed to, right? And when we're not supposed to speak, we speaking, right? Right? So we need to be more methodical and thoughtful in our processes, in our actions and whatnot, and not just kind of like do everything all willy-nilly. And you know, the enemy, they themselves, because they study psychology, right? They use the triggers of people to control people. They've been using this for black people for so long, and that's why since the 70s, they've always been putting people in front of us, their people, as our leaders, right? Like Al Sharpton, like Jesse Jackson, you know what I mean? FBI spooks, right? And they put them in front of us, right? And say that these are our black leaders, right? So now, what if we say that we're going to raise our own from inside our community? You get me? What if we say we're not voting for these devils on the left and these shayateen on the right? You know, we are completely independent and we're going to raise our own. You know, what if we start saying that? What if we start doing that? You know what I mean? Like this channel right here. What we do here, because we have not shucked and jived and bowed down to pressure, right? Because we haven't done that, and we stuck to our guns this entire time, and this channel's small, it's not big at all, right? Right? Look at the reaction now. And they still refuse to say our name, bro. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They still refuse.
But see, they don't realize that at the end of the day, even in Islam, if you read about Sahaba and Tabi'een who went and fought, right? Especially the Sahaba, a lot of them were black people like me and you. And I could bring you the authentic hadiths. A lot of them, you just look into the hadith related to when the Muslims invaded Egypt. And they went inside, one of the Sahabas went inside, was dark skin. And the Egyptian king told him, man, bring me a messenger that's white. This is authentic, right? Bring me a messenger that is white. He said, no. He said, everybody else from the Sahaba with him, he said, all of them, they darker than me. He said this, they're actually darker than me. So listen, Daniel, he's not going to survive. White Muslims are not the majority of the Muslims on earth. Whites are not the majority on earth. When I go to the Muslim world, white people are not the majority. Matter of fact, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to have to. If I go to certain Muslim countries, especially Arab countries, the white Muslim sometimes, they think you the agent. They think you're the agent. So, you know, hey, man, you know, he won't be able to ignore us that long, man, because majority of the Muslim look like people like me and you who got skin color like this. These are the majority of the Muslims.
Well, they're definitely not ignoring us anymore, right? But they're still preventing their platforms from even mentioning who we are. They know very well who's putting out Daniel is alt-right. They know that. But we're
Matter
not
of fact,
talking about Daniel today, man.
I
This is
know,
not-
but I just want to mention one little tiny thing.
Okay,
Then
go ahead,
even
go ahead.
they had this little talk, I think, AIM conference after the program was Daniel, Kareem, and Sheikh Uthman Ibn Farouk, and they mentioned about the petition. They mentioned the petition. No, we didn't put out that petition, but if you look in some of the and in the petition, a lot of the screenshots were my stuff actually about his far right.
Wow,
So they gotta know, man. They gotta know, man. They gotta know. Because my face is there, my profile on Facebook is there showing the clips of the things that he's saying and me rebuttaling one of them actually. So it's in the petition, and the video about the petition is there. So that know they see it.
They see it.
Daniel's a coward. Listen, man, Daniel's a coward. You know, before I knew anything about his far right stuff, because you the one who showed me that, right? Before I knew anything about him in that aspect, right? I asked Daniel about his teachers. One day, the video he made about his teachers on Facebook, I sent him a message. No, I sent him a comment. I'm like, Dan, you know, your teachers are deviant. I said, one of them is Khawarij and one of them is some hardcore Sufi, man. He blocked me since then. But Dan, you know, I have more than one Facebook page, you know, alhamdulillah. So, you know, they know, man. Daniel, you know, man. These guys, they know. I think they just want some of the biscuits, like you said, man. From
Of course. What else would it be? What else would it be? It's not making any sense whatsoever. And mind you,
but Master ain't gonna give them no biscuits. See, the white man, they don't trust them. They don't trust Muslims.
He might get it, bro, because his buck dancing is beautiful, man. It's like, you know what I mean?
He might get it, but the Muslims follow him ain't gonna get it. He might get something, but the Muslims following him ain't gonna get nothing. If the Republicans came back and party again, come take presidency, and Trump say, man, forget this. No more Muslims in America. Let's kick them all out. Who's gonna save them? Nobody gonna save them. You think the white nationalists? You think the white nationalists worried about these guys?
That's why you have the house Negro and the field Negro. That's why you have that, right? Somebody gotta clean masses' toilets, right? Somebody gotta cook food in masses' house. These are the house Negroes, right?
What do you think about white folks? White folks, listen, white people are not stupid. White racists are not stupid. Why do you think the U.S. government fight Muslims in the Muslim world? Why do you think they cause division inside the Muslim world when they want to take over or take resources? It causes division because they know Muslims naturally is going to fight them. So you think America, white supremacists, is going to leave you alone in America because one of you guys have sympathy for them? They're going to leave Muslims alone in America? I mean, I don't understand his thinking.
Well, I do
because you know.
Because we've seen our share of sellouts, right? And we've seen our share of people, especially in the Black community, who have done this time and time again, trying to steer Black thoughts, trying to steer, Black culture right now. So many times, like how many times we've seen this in the Black community. This is the first time we're seeing it in the Muslims, because Muslims, by and large, they're immigrants that have been coming here since the 80s and stuff, right? So they're not used to it, but Black people have been going through this since meritorious manumission. Back in way back, in those days we've been going through it. Let me tell you something, man. In Vietnam, okay, when those soldiers went to Vietnam to fight these Vietnamese and whatnot, okay, the Vietnamese, they had some they didn't have weapons like the Americans. They didn't have technology or anything like that. All that they had was their knowledge of the layout of the land, right? And some knives and the ability to be incredibly brutal. Okay? Incredibly brutal. Right? So when these American soldiers went to Vietnam, even look at what's that guy's name? John McCain, his story, right? When they went to Vietnam and whatnot, and then they came back, right? The U.S. government paid for these soldiers for PTSD, right, or whatever. It wasn't PTSD back in then, but there's psychological problems right? Their injuries. They paid for all that. You get me? They paid for all that, right? For 400 years of brutality by the same government, what have black people gotten?
Same thing, man.
Absolutely nothing.
They got the same thing the Vietnamese got.
Yeah, yeah.
But Vietnamese beat them though. See,
Yeah.
you know, we're still fighting.
There's some knives, some trees, some sticks. That's all they needed. They just needed a knife and a stick, and they were good. And they beat them just like that. You understand? Because they themselves, they understood who they were. They understood that they were who they were culturally, who they were racially, who they had the same language. You know, they knew who the enemy was. Black people don't know who their enemy is. You know what I mean? We don't know who our enemy is, but we are telling you who the enemy is, right? Every single white supremacist is not only your enemy, they're the direct enemy of Allah himself, right? We're not afraid to say that. I'll go on Yom Kippur and say that, right? Who can deny this? You believe that you are superior to every other race because of your whiteness. This is kufr, okay?
It is kufr.
This is kufr, right? You are competing with Allah in his creation based upon your skin color. That's it.
You know the Muslims in the Muslim world, they talk about colonialists, the white supremacists. The colonialists were the white supremacists. If you look at some of the books, the scholars of Islam speak about when the Europeans came and colonialized the Muslim world. They didn't look at them and they wasn't trying to be their friends. So for the weak Muslims.
Yeah.
So for the weak Muslims,
these guys are talking about we need to side with the white nationalists.
Yeah,
Anyways, I want to talk about that no more. Anyways, last words, go ahead.
You know, related to black folks being on code and off code and these type of things, I really think that African American Muslims, we need to have some type of curriculum framework that educate our peoples about dealing with these subjects. Because, you know, if I want to look right now for a book, I'm not going to find one book. I got to look in various different materials, books and textbooks, and then I have to read it on my own or listen to a lecture or go to a lecture, somebody talking about these things, which is also rare. So I really hope one day some of the African American Muslim brothers who are scholars start formulating textbooks about this stuff. Because, you know, I listen to the people say why I like Daniel, and one of them commented, associate of ours, he commented and said, well, Daniel right now is the only person from the Muslim community who has deep insight about feminists, the feminist agenda. And he said that's why the Muslims are accepting him, despite that he has some far right tendencies with him. The Muslims are accepting him. And I said, and I'm thinking in my head, Muslims where? Only the ignorant Muslims in America. Feminist is not a new idea in the Muslim world.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking about that?
Stop the cap.
That's what I think about that, man. I heard that you're talking about feminism. It's not hate or anything. It's just like some really. He says the same things over and over and over again, right? He's only explicitly using alt-right talking points. Nothing from the Quran.
Listen, scholars have books on feminists. The Muslim scholars have books and articles and lectures on the feminist movement because there's nothing new.
But you know what it is? You know what it is? It's because since the alt-right, they basically started getting momentum back in, I think it was 2014 and whatnot, with memes and whatnot. And mind you, this is all from, I don't even want to talk about Daniel today, right? Even this is all from you look what you've been doing, man. His playbook, that he will use so many memes, even on particular in his Facebook and his blog, whatever, right? Because that's from the alt-right playbook, right? So, but anyways, right? One of the things that they started attacking was feminism, okay? And now the ironic thing, right, is that feminism in itself, right, if you look at feminism, how it started, really it started in slavery, of course, we know this, right? When white women, they wanted to own their own property because they didn't want the white man to divorce her and leave those women bankrupt. And what was the property? It was black people, right, slaves, and land. And then after the Emancipation Proclamation, right, it was, what's her name? Her name, Katie Lang, Elizabeth Katie Lang, who openly said that imagine, she's the leader, imagine she's the leader of the feminist, the women's, whatchamacallit, suffrage movement back then. She openly talking about, imagine Sambo, who can't even read the Constitution, going to vote before a white woman or something to that nature, right? It's rooted in racism. It's rooted in racism. There's a whole reason behind feminism. You get it, right? Now these same people who are now using feminism as some sort of tool of recruitment for alt-right politics, right? They're doing it because of the ability to be viral in social media space. You get it? There's entire groups that monetize refuting feminism. You understand? This is a fight between the white woman and her man. And now here come Daniel, right? Talking about he's the vanguard against feminism, when really as Muslims, how do liberal ideologies creep into the Muslim communities anyways? It has to be from the schools. It has to be from the schools, right? So what should we Muslims be doing? Should we be debating feminists, or should we be, like we keep saying, building our own, being independent? Just like the Jews. Jews don't got no feminism problem. Chinese ain't got no feminism problem. You got a feminism problem because you want to send your kids to the schools of the enemy. So the enemy, when you send your kids to the school of the enemy's going to teach them whatever they want. You get me? They're not looking at it like that. They're not looking at it like that. And so,
and that's why Dr. Bilal Philip told them they need to build their own communities. And if they can't do that, they're gonna keep on compromising. And on both sides, liberal or conservative. Finish.
But really, you made me talk about Daniel way too much.
Man. You need to have an open up conversation on Friday night.
Another one?
Maybe Friday. But look at Josh. I see Josh, man. Josh keep on commenting. Josh liked the subject too.
But I don't want to. I might do one more video and that would be it. I don't want to talk about that guy anymore.
Look at see Josh, man. Because I even have another subject about Daniel. People talk about Sharia law. What the Sharia laws say, it doesn't say. I want to ask Daniel, where do you study the Sharia law? Especially somebody struggling with Arabic language. How did you study the Sharia law? I mean, I really want to know his teachers and how did he study the Sharia law altogether? Because to study the Sharia law, to know what it means, you're a good student of knowledge. You're a sheikh, a small sheikh. So I want some info because nobody asking him these questions. We're supposed to be asking this. If he says everything I hear him say, the Sharia covers this, the Sharia says this and say that, then Daniel, how did you study the Sharia law itself? Who's your teachers? Did you take it? Did you study Sharia law in the faculty?
I only heard him mentioned by name one of his teachers, only one, and that's Madeleine Abu Hijla. That's it. That's the only one I actually heard him say. But everybody else is like maybe texting or like whatever. But anyways, we done. All right. Just talk about thanks for everybody here.
I mean, but yeah,
some left field stuff, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Come on, man.
Because on code, when you talk about black people on code, there's still black people listening to this guy, man. It's like, no, Daniel's not racist. I be showing them the post, show them everything he be saying. They're like, because they're off code. Muslims are off code, Aki.
But even that's a sign of the times as well, bro. You're gonna see so much of like this is the age of the Ruwaybada, la shak. This is the age of the Ruwaybada, right? With none of these things that are happening today, we didn't see not even 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. You know what I mean? We didn't see this.
The Salafi community, philosopher. Wow, that's deep. I never think about that. Like 10 years ago, I would never think you see a philosopher in the Salafi community being promoted.
Yeah, being promoted by Salafis. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Sheikh alive today? Our brother Daniel Hakika. We'll be
Yeah,
teaching.
man. That's Salafists. Yeah, man.
Okay,
I'm telling you, man. All right.
Enough. What you made me do, man? Negro, please.
All
Man. All right. All
yeah,
right.
man. All right. Salaam Alaikum, brother.
Islam. Well, Allah reward you all. Thanks for everybody for participating. Like, subscribe, share. Hit me up on Patreon. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.